This conference will now be recorded.
Okay. All right, so a little housekeeping as we start. It's almost 6:10 on September 15th. Calling the meeting, the Tilton Zoning Board meeting to order. Before we get started, if you're participating by phone or the GoToMeeting platform, please mute your microphone during the meeting unless you would like to speak. Otherwise, background noise will interfere with the meeting. The zoning board is meeting at Town Hall and providing access via GoToMeeting and conference call to enable the public to observe and listen contemporaneously to the meeting. Additionally, there is an opportunity for the public to attend the meeting in person. However, in order to maintain social distancing, only 8 spaces are available and attendance is on a first come, first served basis. Once the maximum limit has been reached, anyone wishing to participate in the meeting must do so remotely. If anyone has a problem with remote access to the meeting, please email web@tiltonnh.org, which will be monitored during the meeting. Again, that's web@tiltonnh.org. Okay, so that's the official business. And the agenda. So we have 2 minutes to vote on the approval. Everybody get a chance to read and review the 2 minutes. It would be the June 16th and August 18th minutes. Okay.
Yes.
We'll start off with the June 16th minutes. If anybody like any comments about it or would like to make a motion? No comments. I'll move that we approve the minutes as written. Any seconds on that?
Second that.
Okay. All in favor of approving the June 16th zoning board minutes?
Do we?
Yeah, we don't have to do the roll call vote.
I don't
We're
think
in
so.
person. Yeah, so.
Yep.
I'm going to abstain because I wasn't here.
Okay. Okay. All right. So all opposed and 1 abstain. So that is June 16th. And then August 18th. Any comments or suggestions or?
Oh, looks good.
I second
So I make a motion to approve the minutes of August 18th. Any seconds on that?
I second it.
Okay. All right. All in favor of approving the minutes for August 18th?
Yes.
Aye.
I'm going to abstain on that one.
There is, okay.
Yes.
Okay. So August 18th minutes, moving on. And so right to the first case. ZBA case 2006. Good. Hi, introduce yourself and
Jonathan Kravis from TF Bernier Surveying. We prepared the plan for the growl services.
do we need to use the microphone or is there any?
Jim, can we have, I think he can remove his mask. It's almost muffled.
Yeah, that's fine. I think because we'll stay far enough apart, I think we're okay with that. Yeah, that's a good point.
And are we talking about the sign, or are we talking about
Well, the
The
first
other
one is
setbacks.
permit paved driveway.
so we're talking about the setbacks?
Yeah.
Okay, so two variances we're looking for. One is for items in the setbacks, the side setbacks, would be pavement here, and a dumpster pad, and a retaining wall. And then the second request is for a roof sign, which is on, it's really on the porch roof on the front of the building to remain after the renovations.
Okay.
Those are the two. Let me read through.
Yeah, if you just, more just explain, like, for the setbacks, what are the needs for it? What's the larger scope of the reasons for it?
Sure. So the building's being renovated, being kept as is, but renovated. So they needed a certain amount of parking for their new business. And there also needs to be a handicap ramp. So that needs to fit there. And they need these parking spaces. And that kind of pushed everything over a little bit. And this would be future access possibilities to the back. And that's why that's over there, rather than having to go through the parking lot. And then, so in order to get as many spaces as they would need for their business, work around the building as it is and the grades, and stay out of the wetland buffer, and have stormwater management to collect runoff. It just ended up this way, that this driveway is going to have to be over here now. And then the dumpster pad and the retaining walls just for, grading at the corner of the block there. So that's basically what's going on. And there were two signs on the property, one in the front, freestanding, and one on the roof. It's an ice cream shop. And they'd like to keep that sign that's on the roof, and that's not permitted, so that's why we're asking for a variance to keep that roof sign. They're going to renovate it and put it back up. That's where we're at.
All right.
Um,
So any board members have any questions?
So you're telling me the new entryway, which is a circle, is right there, right? That's what
Correct.
you're saying?
Yeah.
So why can't, to keep away from that edge, why can't it come right? And that way, when they pull in, you don't have a hard turn to make and you go straight up the parking lot, keeping
Well,
away from that edge.
Right. There was a couple reasons, because then there'd be traffic that business trucks that have to go through where customers might be parking, and trying to eliminate that. And also, we moved the driveway south a bit to line up better with Silver Lake. We needed a DOT permit. They kind of like to do that, so that's why that was designed that way. To better line up with the road across the street.
Something you mentioned about future access to the back of the lot. With the wetlands there, how realistic and feasible is that?
I think the thought was to bridge it, perhaps.
Okay.
But keeping that option. But the stream runs right through the property, obviously, so.
Right. Yeah, contend with that somehow. Yep.
So that explains the snub nose kind of at the end of there. And so the customers will take a hard turn right.
Right.
And in the
correct,
future, that snub nose will be the extension
Right,
piece.
right. We didn't know how it might go, so we didn't design it yet. That's what that is for.
I guess my other question would be, on your dumpster pad, you're encroaching a line for the sake of maybe 2, maybe 4 parking spaces. So the variance is there, in my mind, for a reason. And feasibility, you would just lose 2, and then it would come off the line. So my thoughts are, is this a wish list, or is this a hardship?
Well, the owners felt like this is the amount of spaces that they need for their business, for their customers that may come in a heavy period, and employee parking. So we actually had more, pared it down. So,
May I share something?
yeah, sure.
Yeah, so our process, we're over in Northfield now, and car parking is a challenge, so we're trying to avoid it being a challenge this time around in Tilton. We currently park 3 deep over in Northfield,
Right.
so we're trying to maximize as much space as we can over there. And to be honest, we're not sure how many customers will come in and out of there daily. I would love to say we're gonna have hundreds, but
Sure.
realistically, how many will we have? So we're not exactly sure. So we're trying to make as many parking spots available for our team that will be working there, but also keeping in mind, where we're at now versus where we're going to be in 3 or 4 years. Hopefully there'll be more employees then. So we're trying to prepare a little bit for the future.
Mandy, can I ask a question?
Yes.
Why wouldn't you move the dumpster over in your left-hand corner as you look in the back in this area here? And put up a half a fence or something? I think it would make it easier for them to get in. The gentleman taking the dumpster out is gonna have to go through your whole parking lot, right?
Yeah,
In order to get there?
Jonathan, why did we decide it over in that corner? I think that it was maybe tucked out of the way.
Right. Where were you saying over in the?
I was thinking
That
that
little
possibly
notch.
over here,
Yeah.
this little notch. And, you wouldn't need any variance then, if you had it there. And if eventually you do your back parking lot, you do the bridge over there. I guess the concern I have over here is where are you gonna go with snow in the back of the building with the dumpster you're planning on putting a dumpster? Where's the snow gonna be plowed out of the, you're gonna put yourself in a bind because you can't go, the dumpster's actually gonna be almost where you'd be taking the snow, some of that snow too. Just a question.
I didn't design the dumpster there, so I don't know firsthand.
So it was
my guess is-
basically so for the future, if we ever wanted to do, so you're all set for the driveway, for bridge or whatever it was, it was gonna go in, so it'd be over there off to the side, so you'd be able to utilize the back lot better.
And if I remembered correctly, if it went where I can't see what you're looking at, but I think
Well,
where you're proposing
But
it,
if you're
it
thinking,
was more where the snow was going to go currently.
yeah, so currently, if it's all pushed over there, that's where it's gonna get piled up, is right there, no QA.
I mean, there's snow storage all along the back
Yeah.
and the side. And over here. I think that was part of it, is always over there trying to get an access through there. I think if you put it in that corner, it might be a little tricky. You might lose a couple of spaces, those corner spaces, in order to get in there safely if they were occupied. So.
On that retaining wall, what's the height of that retaining wall?
It's not terribly high. It's probably 2-3 feet, maybe. Just enough to, for the proper grading in the corner of the parking lot there. It's not high. There was one there that came out straight, basically just getting rotated to accomplish the same thing.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
You mentioned the parking in the back, that you didn't know how many customers you're gonna get. Is some of this parking, do you plan on bringing in some of your trucks? Parking the trucks there, and then the drivers of the trucks are gonna be parking their cars there and taking the trucks?
It could
Is
be,
that what these
yeah,
parking
it could
spots
be,
are
yeah.
all for? How many?
We don't know.
Cars versus trucks, you know.
That's really what we're not sure.
We don't know.
So we will, our plan inside is to have small training room in there as well. So they may be over there in a truck. We're just not, and we have varying sizes of trucks. So that's why it's a little tricky.
I mean, could there be like 30 trucks in there?
Well, we don't have 30 trucks, so. No, I don't think so. The point is to keep kind of the back, tuck the employees in our mind as we're planning this out, keep that back section on the backside for employees, to leave the parts up front, parking spots up front for the actual customers.
Because
So
we're
they
probably
can
gonna
park
have
closer to the
customers right
building.
back here walking on.
Right.
You know, so the
entrance.
employees will come in the back, typically the way that we're envisioning it, the way that we want them to go, and then customers would go into the front.
Or the drivers, we just give them trucks.
And the training is downstairs as well, so it would make sense for them to pull around and just come in down back.
And trucks would be empty, right? You said we wouldn't ever have trucks that would go,
I mean,
except the trucks.
it-
are-
In the winter time, obviously, if you're talking about pump trucks.
Yeah.
Yeah, so pump trucks need to be empty in the winter. Yeah. And then in the summertime, they don't need to be empty, but. Yeah. But I mean, it doesn't cause any issues. I mean, they're state certified trucks and they get inspected and stuff through the state. So.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
What is the reason for the retaining wall? I guess I'd ask. But you didn't say the height, you said it's short?
It's a couple feet. you mentioned.
Maybe 3 feet, but it's just the way the grade is there right now.
It's steep? Because it doesn't show it on
It's
the.
too steep when you put in a parking lot. I mean, the parking lot has to have a certain grade to it. So it's just enough to be able to construct the paved parking.
So it's just for that corner of the parking lot?
Yeah,
That's what you're saying?
Yeah. I didn't have all the finished grades on this. It's on the site plan board, but yeah, it's only 2 to 3 feet.
You're unable to see that on this map?
Yeah, I didn't get them all on this one, but
I have the site.
sure.
If you need it.
It's not very much.
So the building next door, the Drews, or what's it, Drews Affordable Steel,
Yeah,
that sets up quite a bit higher than you? Or
he's lower.
he's lower?
Yeah.
So that falls off?
That
then?
falls off there in the back.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
he's
it's the
lower.
opposite way than what I'm looking at.
Yeah, well, it's back where that building is. So when you enter from the street, the parking lot that you come into is higher than his structure, which is back there. So the land grades down.
Your markings are there. You blow it up. It's like
Yeah.
a change of like 4 feet.
That's Lucky Lenny's old building?
What's that?
Is that Lucky Lenny's old building?
I have one.
Drews is, yeah, all those places up there.
But that's the one where you had the hardware out back?
Yeah.
So it's,
He was able to see it over here on this one. He pulled it.
Yeah, I took a
Yeah.
photo. So you're looking at a change. You're right here.
Yeah.
So you're,
Right, there's a 518
yeah,
coming in, so it's,
anyone 514 to 518.
right, yeah.
Yeah.
Leanne,
Yes.
has there been any discussion regarding the number of parking spots versus, the commercial and retail components of it?
I haven't calculated that. They are coming to planning board
Okay.
next week, so that will be.
That'll be then, okay, all right.
They've got more than a minimum. So I think
Okay,
we'll be.
all right. Sounds good. Question about the sign on the signage. The existing road sign is going to stay, correct? And then the sign that we're talking about here on the porch roof, is it parallel or perpendicular to the road? Okay.
Now, the only reason we're talking about that sign is you're removing it to do renovations and then replacing it. And the act of removing it causes us to have to.
Well, no, there's actually the application, thank you. All right. Let's see, in the application cites the section 232.
Yeah, I can actually just tell, yeah, so roof signs,
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, so roof signs are not allowed. However, there is supposedly, and I mean, I believe them, I just never seen it, that the sign was there prior to.
Still laying on the ground. We have pictures of it up on the building, so.
So I don't have a permit though, saying that it was, if I had a permit that said it was permitted or a variance that said it was allowed, then, you know, it would be easier to grant it. So it's kind of gray where the sign came from or how it got up there.
Mhm.
And it isn't allowed anymore, so, you know, they can come for a variance, say, you know, that it was there and they'd like to continue it. And at least we'll have a clean record now going forward, whether it gets denied or not. If it's allowed, then we'll have a variance saying that it's allowed. I don't have anything saying how that got up there ever, or how long it's been. What did the sign say? Was it melt away?
Melt away,
It was
So
a sign for the business.
probably
Yeah.
15 years.
And maybe there was something before that, because melt away, I didn't see.
But no, this was like carved out of wood. It was a sign, so it, you
Was
know, so it was a, you know, so what we would like to do is just be able to keep that same square footage, not going any bigger, that we could put up another sign there in the same location in the future. So as we don't want to take it down and not be able to use it again, obviously. We, you know, we'd like to be able to say, hey, you know, for you guys to say it was there, you guys can keep using what was there, so.
Any questions regarding signage?
What will it be, just another Rowell sign? You're not going to sell ice cream, are you?
No, it won't be. It'll be, so we don't know exactly. I mean, it could just be like showroom gear or something like that to get people to come in to stop and look at boilers, mini splits and water heaters inside is full of that is to look at.
It's not lit, right?
Will it be lit in the future?
Or no, the sign is lit. It has two lights on either side of it.
But it's not internally lit though.
No, it's not internally lit. No.
The road sign is.
The road sign's internally. But does that make a difference whether?
You know
it
what,
was
there might have been
internally?
a permit on that with the lights. I know that's that sign.
Yeah.
It was a permit. And there was no variance though, but it was.
It had two goosenecks, one
I
on each
didn't
side.
show a picture of it, like, there was no picture in the permit, it just said a wooden sign with
Yep.
lights. That was
Which
it.
is why gooseneck
And how
on
are you
each side.
describing it? From Meltaway, yeah, Meltaway had a wooden sign. But it has since been taken down, so.
And they're getting a new roof on this right now, so.
Any questions?
And that sign's 3.5 by 6, is that correct?
Yeah.
3.5 high by 6?
Yeah.
We're all set for now. We'll go ahead and open it up to the public. How do we know if there's anybody
I don't see
online?
anybody online.
Okay.
Show.
Would it show up there? Okay.
Oh, there's 3, so that's Tim. That's Tim is one.
Okay. So regarding the folks that,
Tebow is on.
Yep.
He's the only one that's-
so is there,
There's one person and
Okay.
Tim.
okay, So if anybody that is attending the meeting electronically would like to comment, you're welcome to unmute and please speak up. Please state your name. If you do intend to speak up, you're welcome to. And is anyone here present in the meeting that would like to speak up? Any? How do we know, how do we know if they're speaking?
Well, I mean, they're still muted and.
Okay. Okay, just want to make sure they have ample opportunity.
Yeah, still.
I thought it went green for a minute.
Yeah.
So you can see that they're clicking on it.
Oh, it
Yeah,
did go green, but I have no comment.
All right, just want to give you an opportunity.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Me
Thank you.
either, but thank you. I'm looking forward to their relocation into Tilton.
Thank you.
Yes. All right, so that's the electronic folks. Anybody else? Okay. So that is the public comment section. So what we can do, there's two applications here. One for the, this is variance application, this is the sign, I believe. Yeah, this is the sign. So we'll go ahead and look at the setback application first and run through, let's see, it is a variance, so run through the variance criteria. So regarding the three setback areas, one left and two on the right, as this map shows. One being the driveway entrance and the other two on the right being the dumpster and the retaining wall. So the variance, if this variance is granted, it will not be contrary to the public interest. So what we'll do is we'll read through these variance criteria and respond. Do we individually do that?
Yeah, I mean, he should read his criteria
Okay, yeah,
into the record.
yes,
Public, so the
yeah,
public knows.
that'd be good.
So for the setbacks, number one, granting the variance would not be contrary to the public interest because for the variance to violate the public interest, it must unduly violate the basic objectives of the zoning ordinance, provide a buffer to prevent encroachments over property lines, safety from traffic accidents, snow removal, buffers from other land uses, and to provide open space around structures and lots. There has been an existing gravel parking area in the southerly setback for many years. The former gravel parking area was within 6 feet of the property line, and the new pavement will be 10 feet from the property line, where the setback is 20 feet. The existing 6-foot stockade fence along the southerly property line is now in poor condition and will be replaced during the renovations to Lot 7A. The new dumpster and retaining wall on the northerly property line are abutting a commercial use where the existing 6-foot fence along the property line is also being replaced. The dumpster pad will be within 6.8 feet of the property line and the retaining wall will be within 12 feet. Both abutting lots have improvements within their side setbacks adjacent to Lot 7A, including pavement, gravel, and retaining wall and patios. You want me to read through all?
Yeah, just go ahead and proceed through them all.
Okay.
Yeah.
If the variance were granted, the spirit of the ordinance would be observed because the spirit of the ordinance is preserved as the uses on Lot 7A are consistent with how the site has historically been used. There are and will be fences and or vegetated buffers along the lot lines. And the abutters are also using their setback area adjacent to these locations. Granting the variance would not unduly violate the objective and spirit of the ordinance in this situation in this neighborhood. Number 3, Granting the variance would do substantial justice because the building and grounds are being rehabilitated and redeveloped after several years of neglect and abandonment. The site plan will allow this successful business to expand into Tilton in an area of comparable types of development. The rejuvenation of the site will eliminate an eyesore, address stormwater runoff, increase the town's tax revenue, and provide a clean and unobtrusive business. If the variance were granted, the values of the surrounding properties would not be diminished because the site is located in the MU mixed-use zone with various other commercial uses in the neighborhood. The lot has been used in a commercial capacity for many years as the building and the grounds are being renovated, and that will help the value of the similar properties and uses in the neighborhood. The business is professional, clean, and will be in keeping with other business establishments along this stretch of Laconia Road. The existing fences along the property lines are being replaced. Unnecessary hardship. Owing to a special condition of the property that distinguishes it from other properties in the area, denial of the variance would result in unnecessary hardship because no fair and substantial relationship exists between the general public purposes of the ordinance provision and the specific application of that provision to the property because the building is being renovated in place and the necessary parking and circulation requirements for the business need to be designed around that and the 20-foot buffer to the stream, which cuts right through the middle of the property. There must also be an area preserved on the lot for stormwater management. This lot and the abutting lots have historically been using the area within the setbacks along the side property lines of 7A with pavement, gravel, patios, and shed. And the proposed use is a reasonable one because the redevelopment will provide a single safe access to Laconia Road with delineated parking spaces and access aisles that meet zoning requirements and the requirements for the business. This will provide for safer, more defined vehicle movement within the property, while also adding stormwater controls and preserving and reclaiming the wetland buffer.
Thank you. All right, to the board. The variance will not be contrary to the public interest. Granted. Do we all agree?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Spirit of the ordinance is observed. We all agree or disagree?
I agree.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
far. And for the record, I also agree on the first one. I didn't say that. But, substantial justice is done.
I think so, looking at the pictures of the building, the condition of the building compared to what it's going to be.
I agree as well.
I agree.
I concur.
Okay. Values of the surrounding properties are not diminished. I don't believe they will be.
Agree on that also.
I agree on that.
It's business.
And the literal enforcement of the provision of the ordinance would result in unnecessary hardship to the applicant. Given the circumstances, I would agree.
Yeah, I think they're trying to deal with a lot that's tough to deal with the water running down through the middle of the back.
Yep.
I mean, they're limited there. It's a good sized lot, but with that restriction of the wetlands, it makes it tough.
Boxes them in a bit.
Yes.
I agree.
Okay. All right, so that is all 5 variances. And does anybody have a motion for this application?
Wait, is that all 5 or all 4? We were doing setbacks.
We're just doing the setbacks
Right.
because it's a different application. We're going to do the sign next.
Separately.
Yeah, so there's only 4.
Yeah, so we're just talking about the setbacks, the application for the setbacks at this point. I move that we approve this application for the A variance that's requested from Article 4, Section 4.3 zoning ordinance to permit a paved driveway and dumpster pad and retaining wall within side setbacks.
I'll second that.
Just as per the plan.
As per the
You're
plan.
not saying the exact.
Yeah, as per the plan, because it's detailed there in the plan. All right, so that's a second. So all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
In favor? Aye, Eric Singer.
That's everyone. So that is unanimous. All right. And now moving on to the other application.
Chair, do we have to, if Leanne says, you're saying they have an application, they had already been approved for this sign?
There is a sign application, if that's the one. It's just hard to figure out what sign was, but they don't have any pictures of the sign in the application. So it sounds like there was, I remember reading that there was a wooden sign with like these
Yeah, we have a
lights.
picture of it there, if you want to see it.
But the application didn't, so there's no way of knowing what that sign was in the application. But if that's what it looked like, then it was a permit at one time.
And that's that's with the record that's downstairs?
It's in the building file.
Anybody have any questions about the sign application? Okay. You want to go ahead and read through the variances?
Granting the variance would not be contrary to the public interest, because for the variance to violate the public interest, it must unduly violate the basic objectives of the zoning ordinance to prevent accidents by distracting attention or obstructing view, to protect property values, avoid excessive intrusion on visual aesthetics, to provide signs compatible with the surroundings. Sign on the porch roof has been there for several years, is well below the maximum size allowed, and fits well on the building, while helping to further describe details of what services the business provides to the public. If the variance were granted, the spirit of the ordinance would be observed, because the spirit of the ordinance is preserved as the sign on the porch roof has been there for several years. It is passive. It does not distract attention by blinking or flashing. It does not obstruct view. It is not excessive in size or distasteful, and helps to further advertise the business and the services provided, while also blending into the building, rather than if it were on the top roof of the main building. In this neighborhood, there are other businesses with second sign mounted on their buildings. Granting the variance would do substantial justice, because the building and the lot are being rehabilitated and redeveloped in a tasteful, thoughtful manner after several years of neglect and abandonment. Allowing the roof sign to remain will allow the business to further advertise the many services they provide as the business establishes itself in the neighborhood. Or if the variance were granted, the values of the surrounding properties would not be diminished, because the site is located in the MU mixed-use zone with various other commercial uses in the neighborhood, many of which also have a sign attached to their building facade. The sign on the porch roof has been there for several years, and allowing it to be renovated and reused in the same location will not cause a noticeable change in overall aesthetics of the site or in the neighborhood. Unnecessary hardship. No fair and substantial relationship exists between the general public purpose of the ordinance provision and the specific application of that provision to the property, because the owners purchased the property with the intention of renovating in place the building with its existing signage. Sign on the porch roof has been on the site for several years. The sign is mounted on the porch roof, not on the main building roof, so it blends into the building like the facade mounted signs on other businesses in the area. The sign helps direct the public to the main front entrance of the business while further advertising the business. And the proposed use is a reasonable one, because the sign on the porch roof has been on the site for several years. It is not distasteful, obnoxious, distracting, and is well under the maximum size allowed. The sign will help guide the public to the main and front entrance.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right. So going through the variance criteria. The variance will not be contrary to the public interest. Do we all agree or not?
I agree.
Yeah, I mean, it's been there for a long.
I agree. Okay. The spirit of the ordinance is observed.
I think there was a note there that said the sign is currently passive, meaning it's a wooden sign.
Right.
Is it going to be retained that way? Or is it going to become an electronic sign?
There's been no comments that I've heard indicating that it's going to become electronic. All the comments I've heard indicates that it may be lit because it currently is
Yes,
lit
right.
by exterior,
Gooseneck
but
lamps.
no changes to that I've heard.
You can make it a condition.
I don't see us putting a digital sign there.
I don't want to say
think
that we
it's
don't
going
want to
be
not do it
tasteful.
because, I mean, next door has a digital sign and stuff.
Right,
So
so-
it's just kind of,
so-
okay,
Have a design
We
yet,
don't
but
we don't know.
I'm saying like right now, we're voting on something that's passive.
Mhm.
And what would potentially, if it was my business, it'd be electronic. And I would be able to change.
Yeah, and in their statement, it said it does not distract attention by blinking or flashing.
Correct. And so we've all seen the one at the BMW.
Mhm.
And that's a very big distraction as you drive through
American Legion.
American Legion. So that's my point on that.
Okay. So regarding the spirit of the ordinance,
The spirit of the ordinance would be that it can't be distracted.
and as Leanne said, you're welcome to, so that would be when we make a motion. So when we make a motion, you're welcome to put conditions on it. Yeah. Any other comments regarding the spirit of the ordinance? Is it being observed?
I mean, it gets to the point of the thing, it's gonna be the same size, 3.5 by 6. And if it's obviously, they're not gonna put up old sign lanterns on the side. It's gonna be no different than like what Truck Trends is across the street. I don't see that as distracting, and that's right on the road. This is gonna be set back on the roof with a taller sign in front of it,
You know, it's going to be a road sign as well.
so. Obviously, it's gonna be an updated to the time sign. It's a,
Do you like more time to think about it?
No, I'm fine.
Okay, sorry.
Just sitting here waiting for you guys.
Oh, okay. All set?
I'll set.
Okay. And me as well. So substantial justice is done.
Yep. Yep.
Okay. I agree.
I agree.
Okay. The values of the surrounding properties are not diminished.
I agree.
I agree.
Yeah, I think that's.
Okay. Literal enforcement of the provisions of the ordinance would result in unnecessary hardship. Because literal enforcement would be not allowed. But it has been there, and as far as we know, there's a application for that sign. So there's some type of paper trail of that sign being approved at some point.
I think this is the hardest one.
Yeah, it usually is.
This is the hardest one because, and that's why I asked if they already had an application within the file that they had gotten approval, prior approval for that sign.
Mhm.
Then it's a mute issue if we bring it up,
Right.
but this is the toughest one.
And that there is a road sign. There'll definitely be signage for the business. So the question is, would literal enforcement of the provision of the ordinance, which is that roof signs are not allowed, would that result in unnecessary hardship to the applicant? I don't think it would result in unnecessary hardship. Only because there is already a sign.
It's existing, so I agree.
Do you agree that it would not be unnecessary hardship, or it would be unnecessary hardship?
I don't see any problem with this sign at all.
Okay.
I don't think it's gonna bother anybody.
No, it's unnecessary hardship on the owner, not on the public on this one.
And the way it's worded is,
Like without this sign, would they not be able to do business? Would it be a hardship that would be incapable of surpassing?
Would it be out of order to ask if we could get a copy of what was in their file that shows what they had for the original sign? Because I think that makes all the difference on this. Because this is the one that really is a stickler on this.
Okay.
Is the unnecessary.
I can do anything fine. The original sign does say a wooden 3.5 by 6 unlit sign with exterior lights.
which fits that.
Yeah, it's
You don't
already
see
been
my
arranged.
hands on it, I know that's.
Yeah.
I think that would make a huge difference then. Because if that is in fact true, then I think it is an unnecessary hardship because we're taking something away from them that they got approved for before. You see what I'm saying? They bought the building with looking at the building with the sign on the building. And therefore, in all intents and purposes, figured that they could go ahead and replace it. And I think where they're coming in front of us, if that had prior approval, then we should definitely grant it because it was already done.
That makes a good point.
This is the one I'm thinking.
Yeah.
of referring to.
15 feet tall.
Right. See, it's hard to tell what that is from that.
Am I allowed to comment or no?
See, this is an illuminated cabinet sign, so I assume that one is the one out front. There's no, it'd be nice if they had pictures,
Yeah,
a drawing attached to what these were, but it doesn't even say roof, doesn't even say where it's placed. And then there was this, and I'm not sure why, this was kind of odd that was in there, and whatever that means. This is temporary sign, that's just temporary sign.
yes.
This is
Yeah,
the
I
wood.
just wanted to say what we appreciated about the sign is it's in the center of the building, directly above the front door. So it does help direct people on where to go. There will be a door on the back side of the building as well with a parking lot there, but that will be the main entrance to the building. That's why we like that sign
On the
there.
roadside.
And there will be no other sign on the building. You won't have any wall signs or any building signs.
No.
We're not gonna paint a big cow on the side of it or anything.
No, but many businesses have a wall.
Should've kept that.
Sorry, That's going away.
So you can see where it's a little confusing to what was approved and they have. This was the planning board.
But I think it definitely, I mean, it's got the type of lighting on here.
Well, right, well, that's why when they said that, it made sense to me that that's
Got the
what
type
that-
of lighting, so.
that's illuminated cabinet, so. When was that, 2009?
811.
And I don't believe the roof sign, the roof ordinance might have been after that, so.
So is it showing it, Scott?
No, it just mentions, I'm just looking here.
It just says it's a wooden sign with light, exterior lights. It doesn't say where it's located. It does say it's the creamery.
Show that there.
So this is the wooden, just says wooden, this was a memo. Wooden sign, sun illuminates.
And, 6.4.
Yeah, so that's similar to size.
Yeah, it's a half. Maybe if it's like 7 to 8 feet, would that be the height of that?
What's that?
It says height 7 to 8 feet. Would that be the height of that porch?
Yes.
Probably, yeah.
You know what I'm
I would think
saying?
so.
Maybe this
Sounds
is
about right. 8 foot. I would think 8 feet from the front of the building out here.
Okay.
I think based on that documentation, Chair, that I would go along with that. It would create a hardship because it's something that was permitted back probably before the second sign. And they bought the building with that. They've showed us pictures. This picture here shows that sign up on the front here, as you can see it. So with that information being provided to us, I think it does help. It helps me anyway. I'm just going to speak for myself.
Okay. All right. So going back to the item number 5, literal enforcement of the provision of the ordinance would result in unnecessary hardship to the applicant.
I believe so, because if we didn't do it, because they've shown that it was on the building, and then we had documentation back in 2009. There was proper documentation filled out to put the sign there at that time.
I'll second it.
Okay. All right. And I would agree as well. So that is all 5. Would anybody like to make a motion? And again, welcome to make a motion with any conditions if you so choose.
Does it, do you have those documents still, Chair? The documents Leanne brought forward?
Yeah, right here.
It states in there the type of lighting, correct? I think Eric had.
It
questions
stated
on
that it was a wooden car.
And the lights on the.
It states something about illumination or something. I saw on the side.
Exterior illumination.
Right, yeah, like the goose
Downward facing.
little spots that are.
Type of lighting, downward facing, overhanging.
Downward facing overhanging.
Yep.
I don't think I'd have a problem with the sign as long as it didn't blink or flash. That's the only concern on the building. If it's internally lit or whatever, however you're gonna light it, which would be best.
If it was, so say if it was electronic, if it was a stationary electronic, you want to put in there something that's not blinking and flashing, is that? like-
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. I think that's the concern we have
Yeah,
as far
sure.
as, anyway, that's the concern I have. I shouldn't say we, I have.
No, that's what I have.
Just,
Yeah.
Same thing. I don't care if it's internally lit.
I don't care how you light it, just that it's not over there
Distracting.
jumping like this at people, you know what I'm saying,
Impulsive.
trying to grab their attention.
That road
If
is
it's
deadly.
lit, then that's fine. However it's lit.
So you'd like to make a motion?
How would we craft it? Ask for direction on that.
It would be, make a motion to approve the application with the,
For variance
With the-
per article. Beyond the first
and then with the
condition,
condition, with state your condition.
you
I'll
might
make
want to-
I'll take a shot at this.
I would just ask for the premise, just to make it easier from our end in the future, if you're going to allow the roof sign, because we don't have any size, you're gonna say it's gonna be
Yeah.
bigger than that, just
I'll put the size in. It was 4 to 6 is what originally was put through. I know you're 3.5 to 6 now, but it was 4 to 6 was the sign. I'll
Can you
just-
say, instead of saying the size of it, can you say or the similar square footage? If we wanted to go with taller or a different
well,
shape
the
or
permit's 4
something.
to 6, so, I mean, it's up to you guys, but however you wanna say square footage.
I don't know, does that affect one way or the other?
It could,
It could,
Right.
because it could go,
Get nuts.
uh,
Before, we're talking square footage, you're gonna do a foot and then go.
oh, a foot and
You
go
know,
24 feet.
Right, I mean, you gotta be a little,
Yeah.
It's 24 square feet now, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So
So it's
you
four
say
by
no greater than 24 square feet, if they wanna make it.
I mean, it's not, no, we're not gonna go straight up. to the-
right, they could go 3 by
12 feet
8,
high,
right?
3 by
8
8
would be
It's
a
6 feet.
2
6
feet
inches,
high,
but
2
it's,
feet high, 12 feet
3
high.
feet tall.
All right, I'm gonna take a stab at this the best I can.
Okay.
I'll make a motion that we grant the variance requested in Article 2, Section 2.3.2. The existing sign on the porch roof to remain after renovation with a square footage size of 24 square feet, being illuminated but not blinking or flashing.
Well said.
yeah. Any seconds on that?
Is the reader board blinking or flashing?
I don't believe a reader board's blinking or flashing.
Just asking.
Well,
It would be if it was transitioning and changing, right? If you did a reader board, you turned it on, that's what it stayed at overnight. I don't think that would be my interpretation, but I would, that's how I would go with.
Yeah.
With
So we do have a second on that? All in favor?
I,
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Nobody? That's it. So as approved as well. Did we have any other business? Did you want to do that excavation? Okay, so yeah, that's
Yes, that's.
all of those. Yep. Thank you very much.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Step forward.
So we do have
One more thing.
an excavation, something that Ann's gonna walk us through. Thank you.
Place is looking great.
Thank you.
Okay, so this shouldn't take long. I received an intent to excavate permit from Honda. They actually moved 8,000 cubic yards of material back in the early summer from empty tractor to their site, which was allowed for different reasons. Empty tractor did do an excavation permit. They didn't come to you because it was part of their planning approval to remove that material. Now they want to remove 4,000 from there. I don't know if it's the same 8,000 they brought in or if it's different material. I'm not sure why they need to remove 4,000 cubic yards of loom, but they do. So they need to do a permit. The permit goes to the state. They pay a fee to the state. And then when the excavation is done, there is a fee per cubic yard of extracted material that's paid.
So you're saying the removing loam,
Yeah, that's what it says.
maybe that's not,
Well, that's not what they
that's not
brought in.
the proper.
They brought in sand.
Yeah, that's
Right,
not
I looked, right.
proper base, right?
I don't know, but they can, I guess they
I don't know.
can.
Who assesses the fees? You're saying the state?
No, we assess the fees, but the state gets $100 on the excavation,
Oh, okay.
because they're removing material from the town.
And then there's so much per yard, you're saying?
Yeah, I can't remember what it is, 0.2 per, it's not a lot of money. I think the 8,000 that they brought in was gonna cost a couple $100, so it's not a lot of money on that amount. It's a bigger fee for, pits that take material, earth out of your town and are selling it, right? So I mean, they're taking hundreds of thousands, and so those are the big ones. And that's probably what these regulations really are to address, are those pits, which I know you don't have. Do you even have any in town, pits?
No, the only one we had was Tilton Sand and Gravel had a big one there.
In Hooksett, we had many. So we have Brock's and we had Boston Sand and Gravel, so we have a lot of them down there. So we did this often, but I'm just gonna read you really quick, just 2 quick paragraphs on excavation regulations, and this is why we're here. And it says, no person, firm, or corporation shall strip, excavate, or otherwise remove earth from the village residential, mixed use, or medium residential district for sale or use of any premises. This is not in any of those districts. Then it says, no person, firm, or corporation shall remove earth from the rural, agricultural, downtown, regional commercial, resort commercial, general commercial, industrial park district with the town of Tilton without a special permit issued by the zoning board of adjustment. And so I don't know what that is, but it's what it says, and I don't know that you've ever done it before. So I believe it's just this permit that we'll just send if you want to vote on
I
this.
think Leon, years ago, they did that when Home Depot came in.
Do they?
They stripped a bunch of soil out there and they couldn't, they were gonna haul it out of town, and then it became, because of something about a farming community, that topsoil was valuable years
Oh.
ago. And there was something about that years ago, and I think that might be where that came from.
Well, no material, just so you know, no material can leave a site from this town without an excavation permit. I mean, that's the law. Unless they're putting it on their own property. If MB Tractor owned the Honda, they could move it from one lot to the other, but even within town, going to the lot, they had to have a permit. So they did do a permit, they just didn't have to come to the zoning board. That said, the zoning board of adjustment shall make its determination to issue said permit and may set such restrictions as are just in the best interest of the town of Tilton. Topsoil or loam purchased from another locality and brought to the town for the purpose of resale is permitted, however, proof of such transaction may be required by the zoning board of adjustment, which this isn't the case. They're not bringing any in. And I don't believe that you need any restrictions on this. They're just removing it for construction purposes. Person excavating or removing of earth shall restore the excavated area in an acceptable condition within 90 days after delineating of the deposit completion of work, which that's all part of their site plan anyway. So we don't really have the reclamation isn't a big deal. It's more of a big deal when you have a pit that's taking large amounts of earth. You want that earth, a reclamation plan has to be brought to the zoning board when they do those pits. But again, this is a little different. This is really just a construction excavation permit, which we used to see all the time. So there's no mention this had to be publicly noticed or that this had to be a public hearing or that abutters had to be noticed about this. I don't see anything. It's not a public hearing or a variance. It's just a permit, issue said permit. I'm assuming they mean this permit. This permit has to be signed by the selectmen. It doesn't get signed by you, so I'm not sure what they mean by special permit from the zoning board. So I don't know what form, or I guess what I was thinking is if you made a motion in the record to approve or not approve, for whatever reason, I will just attach it and keep it on file so that we know that it came to the zoning board, and then when the selectman gets it, they'll know that it came through the zoning board and they're aware of it, that the loom is leaving the site. And if people see trucks leaving, they don't have to get on it. So that's pretty much, they're not selling I believe they're not selling the 4,000. They must be, I don't know what they're doing with it. I'm actually going to be curious of why they're removing 4,000 when they brought in 8,000, but must be different material, I imagine. I don't know. They must have a reason. So that's that story. If anyone has any questions or any more information for me about that, because this is a little bit new. This process here in Tilton's a little new. I'm doing it this way, so.
New to me as well.
So we'd address that under other business then?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. And it just came in Monday, which is why, but otherwise we got to wait another month to get this through to the state.
Now, we don't have to go through the criteria of a variance. This is
There's no
just a-
criteria.
It's not
just
not a
public
variance. Yeah,
Right.
it's not a variance. It's
They're getting a
more.
permit. They're
Right.
getting-
Yeah.
So this is,
for a permit, not variance.
so let's just.
So I think at this point, it would be a motion to approve or not approve, whatever you choose, and then we vote on it and we're
With the
done. I
state
think
permit.
that's,
And then she said the selectmen sign it, correct?
Right, it has to be signed by the selectmen, and then the original goes to the state with $100, and then when they complete the excavation, they have to submit a report of what they excavated. It's kind of like, it's very similar to an intent to cut,
Yeah, timber.
but you don't do anything with intents to cut. It's just done through DRA as this is done, and, but again, I think it's tied to pits. The zoning board has jurisdiction over sand pits and removal. I think that's why that's in there, and I think it got.
removal of town property type of thing.
Yeah.
Or within town, yeah.
Did you bring this to their attention, Leanne, or did they bring it to your
Well,
attention?
I had them get one when they did MB Tractor, so they knew that we needed one, because MB Tractor had to do one.
That's how it came to your attention.
Yeah.
Hello.
So it looks like the total permit area is the full area, 5.4 acres.
That's the whole area of the lot, 4,000, says 4,000 square feet, and they checked off looms, so. I don't know. Oh, there's a dog bark. Looks like that's what it
So they put it in the full-
That's all there's in that. So,
I don't
make a
understand
motion.
It doesn't make sense, but
I know.
I motion that we approve the application.
I mean,
We-
to haul all that in,
No,
they have to pay all it off.
Second.
They were just.
I second that.
It was Jim and Eric.
I approve that.
So all in favor?
In favor?
I,
I,
All right, unanimous.
And that's,
Cool. Done.
that's all I have. I just
All right.
wanted to kind of give you, just really quick for our next meeting, we have one application. And just so you know, it'll be a little bit different for me in that it's an appeal of an administrative decision. Have you had any of those?
Yes,
Okay,
yeah, it's been a year or two. Yeah.
okay.
Can
So-
you give us a little heads up, I guess, so we can.
Yeah, well, I mean, I can't influence the board because it's an appeal of
No,
administrative
but what does it
decision
mean?
from our.
I guess is all
It just
I'm
means,
asking.
so it's a decision that was made by the code enforcement officer or the land use office to deny an application. And they have a right to file an appeal, and you're the Board of Appeal. So I am going to be representing our side of why we denied it. So I won't be offering support, obviously, on the other side,
Understood.
so to speak.
So we're standing on our own, is what you're saying.
Right, so I'm just kind of giving you, don't want to sway you, in public
Yep,
now on
that's
a
fine.
different case. I just want you to know when I do send the material, understand that it's going to be an appeal of administrative decision. You'll get the material, and then I'll probably try and do something in writing about to support
Your
position,
side.
which isn't usually what I do. So usually I try to explain their position or what they're coming forward. So it's going to be a little bit different. So I just kind of want you to understand that while I'm
Okay.
talking to you when you get it. So there aren't too many questions, and then you guys will both speak and you can make that decision. You'll see when it comes to.
Just so I understand, so it'll be like we'll have two sides in here.
Right, it's an appeal of administrative decision. So it's like a court. You're the court and we'll
That's
be,
what I wanted to understand. So that there'll be the people who are petitioning,
right, who were denied, who will say
Who were
they feel
denied.
they were wrongly
they'll
denied. and-
present their case, and then after they present their case, then we'll hear what you have to say.
About why we
What the
denied it.
town has to say.
What
Why
they-
the town
what the
denied it,
town-
right.
Representing the town, what they
Right.
have to say.
and they must get last word after that, though, right?
Yeah, sure.
I would think so.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
do get
I mean,
last word.
No,
here.
they would.
Well, I imagine,
But
yeah,
they would
but
have to
then
go
we get
through
the
it.
last word when we're setting up here.
Oh, yeah.
We become the enemy.
I don't think it should be that way, but
Right.
it all depends on
Well, depends on what.
the facts,
Yep.
what comes
Okay.
forward.
Anything else?
That's all I have, I think. Janice, do we have anything else? And everyone knows Janice now, right? This is the first time we've all met. Actually, I think this is the first time that I meet you in person, Eric, right?
Yes, it
Because
is.
we've
I
all
think
been
that's the first time we've
Zooming.
all met.
This is only the second time we've been in this room.
Yeah, and actually, I should have, with COVID and everything, I've been, when I was sitting back there, I realized you all do not have current zoning regulations in your hands, do you? Did I?
What do you mean? This?
Zoning
No, I
regulations.
don't.
Oh,
One I had
no,
this
no, I
last
don't.
year.
Oh,
So I will, next
I thought you meant-
meeting, I will have, I know,
I know
and
this
yours is
Jim,
probably not 2020,
It's 19.
right?
So,
So I'll
yeah.
have the 2020 zoning ordinances for you in hand, so you can flip as he flips or as I flip.
do you want us to leave these here?
If you don't want
Nice
them, you can
names
leave
on
them,
them?
yeah.
Yeah, I'll leave them here. So wait, you know, we're not,
So
oh, I'll put this in there.
before we go, I make a motion that we adjourn. Any seconds?
Non-debatable,
I second that.
All right, all in favor?
isn't it? Aye.
Aye.
Unanimous.
Guys.
I think it is non-debatable, once the motion's been made.
Did you get the,
Yeah, I have it all here. This one.
This conference will now be recorded.
Gosh, that would.
Yes, thank
you. Oh, you're welcome.
Had a trigger finger, Janice.
And do you want to hold on a second? I'll talk to you. What, Tim?